All right, awesome. All right, thanks everybody for having me. My name is Beth Massie. I am a product manager on the .NET MAUI team, and I look after the Blazor Hybrid or the hybrid app experiences inside of .NET MAUI team itself. I work a lot with Dan, so I'm hopefully here to convince you that you should consider a hybrid app approach if you need it. And we'll talk a little bit about what that is and why you would want to build a hybrid app with MAUI. Okay, first, I just want to talk a little bit about like the investments across Microsoft. This is multiple divisions of the company investing in client development. We have a wide range of client application frameworks and technologies for you to build custom client experiences. These are all of the areas where we're actively investing across the company. From Windows native, obviously in the Windows division, our cross-platform apps, especially with .NET MAUI, I'll talk about today. Hybrid applications, which includes the Edge team and WebView 2, especially on Windows, and of course, web client apps with Blazor. So just to give you an idea, there's a lot of investment across the company, and we really do care about you. You will hear a lot more about AI and cloud native and all of those wonderful things we are doing, but I do want to make it clear that we still do care about the client app experiences. So if we want to zoom out a little bit, let's take a look at like sort of the benefits of each of these types of client apps. So Windows native apps, they're going to provide, the deepest experiences on Windows. You can squeeze out, performance and access the native APIs. And probably the most important thing, I guess, would be it aligns with the Windows operating system controls themselves. Okay, cross-platform apps, on the other hand, you still have those native experiences where you write once and you can run, though, on multiple devices. All right, so this technologies, they abstract the device specifics into like common abstractions so that you only need one set of development skills. So you also get a quicker time to market because you're only writing a single code base and you can reach multiple mobile and desktop platforms. Now, hybrid apps, they provide native experiences just like cross-platform applications, but instead of native UI, you're using web technologies for building the UI. The UI is still packaged with the application, and you have full access to the native device capabilities. And so this approach allows you to reuse UI assets across devices and web browsers at the same time. And of course, then there's web apps. I mean, that's going to provide, maximum reach across any browser on any device. And although, they typically require access to the internet, web development skills, they are ubiquitous. So they're probably the easiest to deploy also with updates, the server taking effect immediately. All right. So for .NET, we have choices, okay? And the choice you make is really depends on whether you want the most reach or you want the deepest native experiences. So for the web, we have Blazor, and you've been learning all about Blazor, and we're at, Blazor conference today. So you know what Blazor is. Blazor lets you build fast, interactive web apps quickly with C#, and we love Blazor. And then on the other end, there's MAUI, okay? .NET MAUI, multi-platform app UI. It lets you build cross-platform native and desktop, native desktop and mobile apps with a single code base. But there is like a sliding scale here. So depending on your application's needs, you can choose the right mix for you. Fully web for the most reach, fully native for the richest native experiences, or what I think is the best of both worlds with hybrid. Okay, so today I'm going to talk about hybrid apps that blend the best of Blazor and the best of MAUI in the best of both worlds, in my opinion. Okay, so because I think this is the only MAUI talk today, I wanted to just introduce you to what MAUI is if you're not familiar with MAUI. MAUI really provides all like the bindings and the core components that you need to target Windows, Mac, iOS, and Android. It also includes a device abstraction layer, okay, providing you like one API for controls and APIs like storage, networking, device-specific sensors capabilities, and all with the same code. Okay, if needed, you can access the platform-specific APIs as well. We'll go over the project template a little bit, and I'll point out those areas. And then obviously, because it's built on top of .NET, you have full access to the .NET base class libraries, unified build system, productivity tooling, and love with VS and VS Code. And the .NET MAUI controls and components, they're all open source on GitHub. So the SDKs, which we call, they're all open source. And so there's obviously a healthy ecosystem, third-party components, just like you would expect from .NET. And just kind of want to call out like a lot of the community engagement we've seen on GitHub. Just for the .NET 8 release, we had over 1,600 PRs and 600 issues closed, which was pretty amazing. But our velocity is really increasing. Since .NET 8, we've been able to merge over 1,500 pull requests so far and close a whopping 2,600 issues. So I just want to say thank you to everyone out there for keeping up the momentum and helping us build this amazing platform with .NET MAUI. And just to call out a couple customers that we've been working with lately, because we get asked a lot about who uses MAUI. Here are some MAUI customers. Some are hybrid as well. Some are upgrades from Xamarin, but the usage just keeps on growing, and that's really great to see. In fact, every time we check the .NET MAUI apps on the Google Play Store, we see more and more applications, both new and familiar names. And in fact, since we've more than doubled the apps just in the Google Play Store since we shipped .NET 8 last year in November. So .NET 8 has really been our most stable and best performance release yet, and it really showed. So let's talk a little bit about why you would build a hybrid app. Okay, so hybrid apps are really that blend of both native and web solutions. So the core of the UI of the application is written using web technologies like HTML, CSS, JavaScript, Blazor. These apps are then wrapped in like a lightweight native app container that allows them to leverage certain native platform features and device hardware. So you can access like a device's camera, calendar, push notifications, pinch and zoom, spread functionality, things that a web application can't access easily or maybe even at all. So this approach allows hybrid apps to run on, like, for example, iOS and Android platforms without needing completely separate development. And that's what MAUI gives you, but this also gives you that with the ability to use the WebView. Okay. They're downloaded and installed through the app stores. So that gives you reach through the stores if you're looking for that. And then the main advantage of hybrid apps is that they can achieve, greater productivity because you can just reuse code across your devices and web browsers. So for instance, if you have an existing web application today and you want to get into the stores or you want to get on the phones, that would be a good approach to use a hybrid. All right, so some examples besides the MAUI hybrid we're going to talk about today is like Electron for desktop apps and Ionic for mobile apps. Okay, so what's .NET MAUI Blazor Hybrid? All right, so .NET MAUI with MAUI basically, Blazor is running natively on the devices. This means you can create like a hybrid client app which combines Blazor and MAUI together in a single native client application, giving you access to all these platform capabilities. Now, Blazor relies on .NET MAUI for the native application container and controls if you want to use them. So that means like you could even mix and match the web UI with native UI if you want. That's totally up to you. Because they're built on .NET MAUI, you host the Blazor components in what's called a Blazor WebView control. And what that does is it derives from the native platform's web views. So for instance, in Windows, that's WebView 2. So no internet is actually required here. The UI is packaged with the app. You can use all the built-in input controls, validation forms, offloads that Blazor provides right out of the box. But this makes it easier to really share that UI across the native and web hosting models. Okay, so in fact, like I think Dan alluded to, we are providing a solution template for you to quickly set up a MAUI hybrid app with a Blazor web app at the same time that shares the UI across. So I'll demonstrate that later. So because Blazor hybrid apps have full access to the MAUI abstraction layer and the native devices, this means you can do all kinds of things that may be difficult or impossible to do. So like, you could even like format your C drive or that sort of thing. You probably don't want to do that, but you kind of get my point. So it also allows you to take and package those things for the store. So that includes the Microsoft, Apple, and Google stores, like I mentioned. All right, and it's not just MAUI that Blazor Hybrid is available in. you actually have options. It actually you can use Blazor Hybrid in WinForms and WPF. I'm not going to show that today, but it is supported and on like WinForms and WPF. It's very similar. So those components can be hosted on Windows through those as well. All right. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about why like web versus native UI. I get that a question a lot. I think even Carl asked me that on a podcast once, and why would people use native UI at all? And it really does come down to skill set a lot of times, right? Because web UI is a web skills, and you might not have web skills, but there is more than that. The look and feel really is, and the user experience can be a factor. Okay, so because MAUI, when you're building a native MAUI app using XAML or C#, those controls are actually realized as actual native controls. So those are Android controls or iOS controls or Windows controls or Mac controls, okay? They're not drawn controls. So that can provide a device-specific look and feel and maybe a more seamless user experience tailored to the specific device platform. If you really, really want to do a very tailored specific device, like you might need to go all the fully native. And then you're going to end up building app, Java, Swift, and you're going to end up having multiple types of apps. So there is like sort of but native UI can still provide a nice device specific look and feel, even cross-platform. With web UI, your look and feel is, all going to be controlled by CSS. So if you have those CSS skills, like Ionic provides a CSS, you can see the difference in the CSS between Android and iOS, and they really make it almost like you can't even tell the difference. So it really just depends on your design language. So if you're less concerned about look and feel, you want to target web browsers, you're building a line of business application, web UI is maybe the better option, as it allows you to easily reuse that across the native and web apps. In addition, you might already have a web application and you really just want to kind of get it into the stores. So really at the end of the day, though, I think for business apps or enterprise apps, it really all comes down to skill set and what you're comfortable with and what your existing assets you have. All right, so I wanted to address that. All right, so let's dive into a demo, okay? All right, I'm gonna have to move over to this monitor. My Visual Studio is kind of over here. Okay, so first off, how do you get MAUI? Let me just open up the VS installer real quick. All right, so MAUI is its own workload in Visual Studio. So Visual Studio makes it really easy to add the workload. In the installer, you'll see this .NET Multi-Platform App UI. You just select that, and what that does is it sets you up for success. It installs all the Android SDK and device manager that you need. It installs MAUI and all of the bits that you kind of need here. All right, so that's the easiest way to do it. If you're not using Visual Studio, because MAUI is also supported in VS Code, here I've got the workload list. You can see where the workloads are coming from. I've already installed them. If you install MAUI, okay, and that will give you these workloads: Android, iOS, Mac Catalyst, and the MAUI Windows. You'll notice that my installation source is coming from Visual Studio, but that's how you acquire all the things you need to build these apps. All right, so let's build an app. Let's create a new project, okay? And I have the project type here, like set to Blazor Hybrid. So you'll see we're going to walk through both of these templates today. This is the template that's existed forever, and this is just a single project, sets you up with a Blazor Hybrid app. We'll also walk through this new template in .NET 9 that includes a web app and glues everything together using a Razor class library. We'll walk through that in a minute. Let's start with just the basics here. I'll just call it MAUI App1, that's fine. I'll go ahead and use 9.0 Preview, but you can also select .NET 8 if you want. Let's create the sample pages. We'll walk through this. So I want to kind of point out the similarities between a Blazor web app, if you were going to create a Blazor web app, and the differences. So really a Blazor hybrid application is really a kind of smashed between, it's a mix of MAUI and Blazor together. All right, so let me get that, unpin that. All right, so dude, you can go away. Oh, shoot, sorry. I got demo mode going on, and I don't know, everything's bigger. All right, so let's look at this. So you'll see the components. There's a components folder, layout. Okay, so the layouts that we're using the same kind of layouts as a Blazor web app. We have the counter page, our famous counter page, weather page. The roots are all here. So this components area looks fairly similar. So does the dub root folder. This is where all of our CSS and HTML and JavaScript go. Okay, so this is the MAUI application now. So MAUI apps really are about, multi-targeting it's a single project and multi-targets all of our devices. So if we take a look at, say, the CS proj, you'll see these target frameworks. You'll see Android, iOS, Mac Catalyst, and if we're on Windows, build for Windows, okay? So this is where multi-targeted. If we need to get at like platform specific, we got to dive down to the platforms. We have these folders here. This allows you to get at the manifest for, assigning permissions. If you need to do anything specific for Android or iOS, that's all in here as well. Okay, so this is sort of the structure of the app. Now, how does this all kind of glue together? If we look at the main page.xaml, you'll see that the app itself is just got one WebView in it. Okay, and those components, the layout, the pages, everything are being rendered through that WebView. So in this case, all your UI is Razor. All your UI is the Blazor. However, you could mix and match. Like this is basically, you could add labels and text boxes and whatever you want in here, or you could use the shell navigation if you really want to and have multiple web views if you want. But that makes it harder to then share with a web app. Okay, so that's why we kind of set you up like this, so it's easy to just focus on the components. You're using all the web UI. The MAUI program CS is a builder pattern. Similar, you should be familiar with the builder patterns we've got in our modern apps in .NET. You'll notice that it adds the MAUI Blazor WebView, and if we're in debug mode, it adds the web developer tool so that you can hit F12 and the developer tools will open up for kind of investigating your components and that sort of thing. All right, so the other thing I want to show you for, the tooling wise, this is set to Windows machine, but you can see that there are other options. So when you install the .NET MAUI workload, you get, you can create Android emulators. I've got a couple listed here. I actually have a local device plugged in. We'll play with this guy in a second. So all you need to do is unlock your phones and plug it in via USB to your computer, and Visual Studio will recognize that it's there, so you could deploy to actual devices. If you want to pair to a Mac, I could pair to my Mac over here. I've got a Mac right there, and we could pair, and then that way we'd be able to use the iOS simulators and see them running over here. All these tools are available for you. The device manager for SDK manager for Android. This is the device manager. All of this is installed with Visual Studio for you. And this is how you would just add emulators. So you can create a new emulator. I could, pick which one I want, Pixel 7 with the store or whatever. Okay, and all of these settings, how you want them and all of that. So you can do a lot of testing. Emulators are good for testing your app after you're kind of like satisfied with it, and you now need to start testing on the different devices you want to target. I should mention that in the CS proj, this is where we're talking about what the minimum versions are. Okay, so Android 24, so it goes all the way back to like Android 9 hardware. Okay, so these are your minimum supported versions. You can even go lower if you want. You just need to target the right SDKs. So a couple other things I should mention inside of here is the icons, the resources files here. These are all specific for like your splash screens, any kind of images you're using, fonts in your native part of the app. And these are all in here, okay? Even raw files. They're all packaged up with your application and put on disk, okay? All right, so that's sort of that. Let's do just really quick, run this really fast. And we'll show you a little bit of like the inner loop tooling. This should fire up our Windows application, and there's a couple different tools that kind of open up when the app launches. Hold on, we got build succeeded. Okay, so this is a WinUI 3 application. this is just your, hello world. You'll see that the container here is Windows, okay? But everything inside of here is Blazor, okay? So you'll see the counter working, the weather page is here. There's about, there's a link. Okay, go back to, let's go open the counter real quick. And actually the tool I wanted to show you is not showing up here. So hold on one second. Hold on, it's called, yeah, I must have shut it down. Okay. Did I turn it? Oh, okay, never mind. All right, hold on a second. Why did it? I really wanted to show you this. I have that open. Where's the window? So many options. No, that's the wrong one. Well, okay, never mind. I guess I can't find it right now. I'm in the demo mode here. So let's do hot reload though, because hot reload does work. Say what I wanted to show you. There's a window that can show basically what's on the screen here, so I don't have to flip back and forth. Anyways, here's the counter. It's working. 1, 2, 3, 4. You can see it's counting up. I just wanted to point out that hot reload does work with hybrid apps as well. So hopefully changes, there you go, changes were applied successfully. And now when I go back here, it should go 6, 8, 10, 12. All right, so just want to let you know that all the things that you should expect working, like for MAUI and for Blazor, work with Blazor hybrid apps as well, okay? The other thing that I mentioned was the F12 developer tools. If we hit F12, here we go, we got them popping up right here. This is basically allows you to, just like you were on the web, you can inspect your elements, that sort of thing. And we're actually inside of the Windows app instead. But because these are all Razor component, or yeah, they're all Razor components, you can navigate to them how you would normally, okay, with a web application. So if you're doing Blazor web app development now, it should be a pretty seamless and easy thing to just, start with hybrid as well. Okay, that's the idea. We're trying to keep the tooling similar. We're trying to make sure that your experience is, as a Blazor developer, carries forward in a MAUI hybrid app as well. All right, so that's the walkthrough of just the basic template. Let me walk back over to the slides. Get back over to the slides, and let's talk about some more advanced scenarios here. So. Okay, that was that one. All right. Okay, so now you kind of see the structure of what hybrid app looks like. What if we want to reuse the UI that we saw in there across our web app and our native app? Okay, so that's one of the biggest benefits of Blazor hybrid apps, being able to reuse that UI across your native and web. So if you want to target the web browsers, you structure your solution to basically create a Razor class library. It's a shared class library that houses the shared UI, as well as any interfaces for the functionality you want to use from that UI. And then the implementations of these are defined in the specific, Blazor web or MAUI projects. And this is sometimes because, you need to write different code for the different hosting models. Okay. And this is going to give you a really easy way to do that. Okay. So like you have a form that, wants to store some data, on a device, it's pretty easy. MAUI abstracts that for you, and it's one line of code you can store on the device. If you have a WebAssembly app, it's a little bit more involved, and so you need to kind of do it differently. But you still want to have the same UI. That's an example. Okay, so this is how you would structure your app today. Okay, and you actually can do it today. We wrote a tutorial. It's like, in a few hours you'll have this together. I'm kidding, but there are a lot of steps to do this. And we recognize that people wanted to be able to do this. And so in .NET 9, we made this hopefully a lot easier because we've created a solution template that kind of does this for you. If you're not doing .NET 9 today, you can do it manually. There are, there's documentation on how to do that. Okay, let's go to another demo then. All right. So now I'm going to go back to let's just go new project here. Okay, we're done with that one. All right, so here's the solution template, .NET MAUI, Blazor Hybrid, and Web. Okay, so I'm going to create that guy. Let's call it my demo. All right, so this is where it's a .NET 9 template, so we're going to choose that framework. And the interactive render mode, this is for the web application. Okay, so rendering modes mean nothing to a hybrid application. Hybrid apps are always interactive. They're client applications. But if you interactive render mode settings for the Blazor web app, we ask you what you would like. So if you select none, you just do none. Server is server interactive. That will create 3 projects, by the way. It'll create the MAUI project, the shared Blazor class library, and the Blazor server project. If you select, WebAssembly or auto, you additionally get the WebAssembly project. So there's 4. Okay. You guys are probably very savvy Blazor developers, and you're probably noticing that the interactivity location is not an option. And I will address that right after this demo. Okay. All right. It doesn't really make sense for Blazor Hybrid to have anything specified in the component, because it will throw an error, and I'll show you how we can work around that. All right. So here are the projects. This is the MAUI project. At the top here. This is the shared Blazor class library. This is the Blazor web and the Blazor WebAssembly projects. Okay, so what did I want to show you here? Okay, so this is this one. Okay, I've got to have like notes, guys, because I don't want to miss anything. All right, so these are the shared. Now that this shared, you're going to want to see that this layout is here. The pages are all here. Okay, these were the pages that we had originally inside of the MAUI application. Now they're here in the shared. Okay, so they're shared between the web client and the hybrid app here. All right, so we'll see that. You'll see all the dub root is also in here as well. Okay, so got that. The way that this is hooked up, let me go into the MAUI program. We're sharing the shared services as well. I'll tell you, actually, let me start this really quick so I can show you one thing. Actually, let me do configure startup projects. So we have multiple startup projects. Let me just show this running, and then I'll kind of walk through how it's glued together. All right, let me start that one, and we'll start that one without debugging. Just get them going. Okay, cool. All right. All right, I just did that. We're going to get that going. All right, so the home page in this template has a little bit of an extra piece of flair, okay? It's actually saying, welcome to your new app running on desktop. And here the web app is over here. Let me bring it over. And welcome to your new app running on web. Okay, so you'll see that this is the UI is exactly the same, but we're providing different functionality depending on whether or not we're running native or running on the web. You'll notice the counter works, right? It should, and the counter is working. Okay, it should. And because I think we picked interactive auto, now I refresh it, and now we're running WebAssembly. Okay, all right. So now I'm going to show you how we do this. Okay, so one second, I'm going to go back over here. We've got hold on, someone was calling me, so I was really annoying. Okay, we've got an interface, okay, called get form factor, and we're defining that in our shared Blazor class library. Then we're using it on the home page by injecting it in here. Okay, and then I briefly showed you the MAUI program CS then injects the singleton right here in the builder services, and you'll see similarly in program CS on our web app, we're doing the same thing. Okay, so that's how we're getting the implementations in there. The implementations are actually in the apps themselves. So here's the service implementation in the MAUI side. We're using the MAUI abstraction layer, Microsoft MAUI devices, device info, the idiom, okay, that gets the form factor device. The platform gets the operating system, and then the version gets the version. So this is handling, iOS, Android, Windows, and Mac, okay, right here. But for web, it's different. Okay, we're going to need to call a different set of APIs. It's really just, you know, .NET itself. It's right down here. I'm just returning web, and I'm just environment OS version to string. So that's a simple example in this template of how we provide, you know, interface, different an interface in our shared Razor class library, and then different implementations because of the different hosting models that we have. But I do want to note that MAUI makes it a lot easier because you only have to write one line of code in this case for all of those other platforms. So that's really the interface injection pattern. All right, so I did mention I was going to show you how we can use per page component location. But before I do that, I kind of want to show you a little bit meatier example of this. Okay, so I have an app called Time and Till, and I'll give you guys all the links to the resources after this. But it's really just a countdown timer. Let me just start it up. Okay, I also have it running on my phone as well. So let me screen share that. Okay. All right. So I want to show you how you can actually create UI that may show or show differently on a device. So we showed how you can create UI that's the same for everything and provide different functionality. But what if you want different UI depending on if it's a phone or a desktop? That's a common scenario. All right. So let's go to this configure page, and you'll see on my phone, you know, you can select an animation, but you can actually also choose a photo, a picture. You can take a photo, a picture, or you know, clear it. This is the Windows. If you look here, you'll see that I don't have take a photo. I just have picture. Okay, take a picture. So we can, you know, select a picture. And this is literally just getting the file system and selecting a photo, right? And then now the countdown is just going to show this instead. But and on the web, where's my web guy over here somewhere? On the web version, if we go over here, you notice it doesn't have anything. Okay, I just decided not to deal with it here. Okay, all right. So how do we do this? Oh, and by the way, this is fun, so I might as well show you how to take the photo. Okay, so we have code. MAUI handles all this for us. Okay, I think that's okay. That's not too bad. All right, there you go. Taking the photo on my device. Okay, and I might as well go back and see what it looks like here. Cool. All right, there you go. All right, so different functionality, different UI, different functionality. That's all possible too. So let me show you how that kind of works. So this is that configuration page, right? You'll notice I'm injecting the photo manager. Okay, so there's a photo manager. And you'll notice that we're actually doing these compiler directives. So if Android, if iOS and Windows, we're going to create that table down below that like allows you to pick the photos or take a photo. But if only going to allow the take a photo, because kind of take the photo because you've got your phone in your hand if it's Android or iOS. And so that's how you can use kind of compiler directives inside of the shared Razor class library. This just happens to be named root, but that's the shared Razor class library. And then what you do need to do is then, just like you saw when we looked at the Blazor Hybrid template or the MAUI template, it has multiple target frameworks. Similarly, what you want to do is you want to set up the target frameworks for the Razor class library as well. So when your app is building the correct built things in your shared Razor class library go in the right folders on disk. Okay. So that's what we're doing. So .NET 9, this version, because we also have a web, this is just effectively web, and then Android, iOS, and Windows. I didn't happen to care about Mac Catalyst in this demonstration. Okay, so that's kind of like how you can structure your app, reuse as much UI as possible, but also make sure that like if you have some different functionality that you need, you have a lot of options. I just want to point out that in the MAUI photo manager, because taking that photo literally is one line of code. Again, the MAUI abstraction layer comes to the rescue here. It just uses the media picker and pick photo async. There's a lot of really cool stuff there. It also does local storage. I mentioned there's just a local storage, set item, remove item. This interface. that we're using in the root. It's really easy in MAUI. Local storage is also just preferences.set, preferences.get. On the web app, on the website, because I have a WebAssembly, I'm actually using Blazor, which is a great, awesome open source library probably you guys already know about, that does local storage. Okay, cool. I did want to, let me go back to slides. Well, actually, I did want to address what I had mentioned before. So the rendering, the interactive render modes don't mean anything to MAUI. So let me go back to that quickly. This demo app here. So, okay, this was the one we just started from scratch. Remember? Okay, so what did this do? It actually set up in the web app here in my components. In the app.razor, okay, it sets up the rendering mode globally. Okay, so this template sets up what it lets you choose the rendering you want, what server, you know, interactive auto, what interactivity you want, but it doesn't let you choose the location. So per page component would have been an option inside of a web app as well. Okay, and that's because let me show you what happens if we do that. So I'm going to take the global render mode out of here. Okay, and I'm gonna put it on the only page that needs it is this guy right here, right? So, okay, thank you very much for that. Okay, so I'm just gonna stick it render mode, interactive auto. Okay, all right, so that's the only page we actually really need it on, right? Let's see, what else do I need to do to make this error happen? Like usually I can easily create errors on my own, but let me make sure I'm creating the error correctly. All right, I did that. All right, let's just leave that. Yeah, this is going to create a problem for it's going to create a problem for the MAUI app. All right, so let's go ahead and run this again. Okay, so this is that's the Windows app, and where's the web app is. Where is the web app? Is here. Okay. So the web app, okay, it's fine, right? Okay, good. I actually tried to navigate to counter and you see down at the bottom that an error occurred. What the heck is going on? So let's open up our F12 developer tools and go to the console. And you know what you're going to see is this error. Cannot supply a component of type, you know, because the current platform does not support render mode. Okay, so we really wanted to get a fix. We wanted to get an enhancement into the hybrid scenarios here where we would just ignore it for you, but we ran out of time. I'm hoping we do get that in, and if my engineer is listening, he's probably cringing right now at me, but we wanted to get that in, but it's really not that hard to fix. And we do have documentation on that long documentation on it. We will update documentation for you. That's way simpler, but this is all you need to do. So let me shut this down, and I'm going to, in our shared Razor class library, I'm going to add an existing item that I already have. It's just a class that I've already got built here. Okay, I've named it interactive render settings. Let's take a look at what it is. Okay, so what it is it's sort of just like this class that we kind of like a middleman class, and it just passes the rendering modes like it normally would through to the Blazor website. But on the MAUI side, we can call configure Blazor hybrid render modes and set them to null. So basically what this does is it just ignores the rendering modes on those shared Razor components that you're sharing with MAUI. Okay, so basically we got to do that. We have to, what else? Hold on, I got a lot of demo scripts here, hold on. Yep. And MAUI, yep. And that's it. Okay, no, we need to do one more thing. I always forget this part. Okay, after I add the class, we need to go into the shared Razor class library here, imports. We need to change this, okay? Instead of that, we need to say that. Okay, we need to use our class. So that's why I added the class. Yeah, we don't need to do. I added the class, and now I'm actually using the class in there. So that's like the middleman. And then we go back over here. Now we just need to call it. So let me add a reference to it. Okay, and then just go. There you go. Configure Blazor Hybrid render mode. And now when we run this, everything will be right with the world. Okay, so also I have this up on my GitHub, and I will share all the links for this so that you can easily see how this works. But now when we go over to counter, you'll see that it's ignored because everything is always interactive in our native applications. Okay. All right. Sweet. Okay. I'm flying through here. Let's go back to our slides. I hope that all made sense. Okay. All right. Cool. All right. So that's Blazor Hybrid and web. And by the way, I didn't show the Mac. I didn't show anything on the Mac, but here's just some screenshots of that countdown timer. This is, on Mac Catalyst, and this is iOS, and you'll see the iOS and the Mac Catalyst. Okay, sweet. That's kind of sweet. Anyways, I just want to make sure that everybody's aware that this template is available in .NET 9 now. It was available in like preview 5. So if you have used it and you have feedback, I hope you've let us know already, or you can let me know now. If the walkthrough, if you want to use .NET 8, the walkthrough is AKMS MAUI Blazor Web. Okay. All right, so let's talk a little bit about what we're working on, more things that we're working on for hybrid apps in .NET 9. So we're trying to add even more value, obviously, to Blazor Hybrid. Okay, we have got the solution template like I showed. We're working on hot reload and more inner loop improvements. We release monthly .NET MAUI extension for VS Code, which supports Blazor Hybrid as well. We did a lot of bug fixes, and we got more documentation coming. So really the premier experience around tooling and everything is really Blazor Hybrid. However, we did want to enable other types of hybrid apps in MAUI. We've gotten feedback. Like we've had an experiment going on for about a year now. Alon Lipton is our engineer that does everything hybrid for MAUI, and he's amazing. He created a hybrid WebView experiment, I think, over a year ago, and we've got a lot of feedback. So we're pulling that, basically a new control into MAUI for .NET 9. It's called the hybrid WebView, and it'll allow you to use other JavaScript front ends with MAUI native apps like Angular, or React, or Vue, or whatever, Bootstrap, or sorry, like anything, doesn't matter. I'm not a JavaScript person, but the control will really render any JavaScript front end. Okay, you can just write a JavaScript file from scratch and it'll do it. So this literally gives you the same native app container, and it facilitates the communication between C# and JavaScript. All right, so a lot of this, is very similar architecturally, very, very, very similar to the Blazor Hybrid the Blazor WebView. It's just a new hybrid WebView, and you're just kind of rendering any kind of JavaScript front end you have. It's just static files that are placed with the app, just like Blazor. So let's see, this isn't progressing here. Provides the interop, and there you go. It provides all the benefits, the same exact benefits that you would have. The WebView, web assets packaged with the app, store distribution. Okay, so this is really what we're kind of trying to enable. In fact, if you are a more traditional ASP.NET developer, perhaps you already have some assets already in JavaScript, and you're looking to kind of go hybrid with that. This could probably help you out a lot. All right, so let's do a quick walkthrough of the hybrid WebView. I'm going to caveat this with the fact that I have RC1 on this machine, and the hybrid WebView is not done yet. So the functionality of it, we have one more thing we need to complete on it. So let me open and show you what it kind of does. So, all right, hybrid MAUI app. Okay, so this template we just started off with just the MAUI app. okay? Because this is just a control. It's not a full-blown, there's no tooling experience around this at all. Okay, so basically this is just a file new project MAUI, okay? And so we don't see root and we don't see layout. We don't see anything Blazor in here, obviously. Okay, so there's no Blazor in here. So I'm going to point out the main page XAML. This has some native UI on here in this example. Okay, but it has this new hybrid WebView control as well. Okay, there's a couple important properties here. The hybrid root is a property like if you don't specify it, it defaults to resources, raw, root. Okay. I actually have two JavaScript apps in here. Okay. One's very basic and one's actually React. So I have multiple folders. So in the hybrid root in this example of this hybrid WebView is the hybrid sample page. And this is what contains all of our static JavaScript. Okay. JavaScript, HTML, CSS, whatever. The default file is always index.html if you don't specify it. Otherwise, you just change it here. And then the raw message receive is the name of the event for when the control receives a message from JavaScript. What do you want to do with it? Okay, so these are like the basic properties on the control itself. Now, hybrid WebView, just like the Blazor WebView, like inherits from the WebView itself. It basically is a realization of the platform WebViews. Now, like I said, we have a lot of tooling and a lot of things that happen for you automatically when you're doing Blazor hybrid apps. When you're doing hybrid WebView, when you're doing your own JavaScript, you need to basically add a hybrid WebView JS script. Okay, and what this does is it's going to set up those platform WebViews for you. This is just a code that we provide, in the hybrid WebView control documentation. This is just always just stick this in your code. Okay. So the hybrid WebView is basically, this is just code that Alon wrote basically, that basically sets up so that the messages can be passed back and forth and you can invoke methods. Okay. It's just a standard boilerplate code. Now when we get a message, okay, we're going to go, this is the page, the code behind the page. We're going to, we can raw message received. We're going to receive a message from JavaScript. You can handle it. In this case, I'm just going to display the message in a text box. And when I want to send a message, you use send raw message. Okay. So that's on a hybrid WebView. All right. So these are for raw messages. You can also invoke JavaScript methods as well. So this is just add numbers. You'll see in my index.html, we have add numbers. So we're actually like we're calling methods and passing messages back and forth. Okay. So there's a lot of like kind of lower level things you need to do here, but it's pretty powerful because you can pretty much do anything. One of the things we still need to get working is calling from JavaScript C# methods. That's coming. All right, let me just work this a little bit. Let me go ahead and fire it up. And looks like my Visual Studio has an error. I'm running the preview. I don't think it's going to cause an issue. Hopefully, something in BS. All right, so here's sort of the basics, the hybrid WebView. Okay, so we're going to send a message to JavaScript. It says hello from C#. This is our hybrid WebView down here. This is JavaScript running here. It's just kind of a basic, JavaScript and this page here. If we invoke the JS, this is the numbers. Adding two numbers together. We also provide an async invoke. So this is just doing this async and the JSON that you get back. Now, there's another example I have here. It's just a React app. So the React app is over here. It's just one of the more famous to-do apps. Before I run it, it's just down in here. Just note that this is the built app, so yarned up and everything. So this is basically the static web application itself. Oh, here's my XAML live preview. Look, it came back. This is what I wanted to show you. Anyways. Too late. So here we go. Eat, sleep. Now this app, what it's doing, you'll see this to-do items at the top is a native control. It's counting the number of items. And what it is doing is it's actually calling C# functions to add the task. So we're managing the data in C#. You'll see like we'll have a little to-do data store here, right? We're just, collecting them in a list. Here we go, data store. We're just collecting them in a list. And we're also like feeding, passing a list of data over to the JavaScript. So this is just a little bit more complex example of the hybrid WebView and how you can, have any JavaScript application and put it in a hybrid application. Okay, so that's a simple example. I hope you guys kind of understand that one. We're still working on it. We still got some things to do, but it should be clean and done and pretty soon. Okay, we got to get that done. I think RC2 comes out next week, so hopefully we'll have that all. All right, sweet. I think I'm running out of time, but let me jump back to slides. I can summarize and we can get to questions. All right, so a summary is hybrid apps really are great for web developers that want to use the native platform capabilities. They provide App Store distribution. I think that Blazor Hybrid in particular is, an amazing experience. It's a great experience. It's actually one of our highest rated experiences that customers give us in surveys on MAUI all up, okay? Reusing the web UI across your, web apps and native apps using these component libraries and interfaces is really an easy way to go. And then MAUI itself for multi-platform abstractions and multi-targeting, that's really where it shines. All of those APIs for accessing the file system and taking photos and all that stuff are abstracted for you across all of those platforms. So you don't have to know how to do it on each one of the platforms itself. All right, so I hope I convinced you that Blazor Hybrid itself and hybrid apps with MAUI are a really interesting and good way to go, especially for your current applications if you have them already, web apps. All right, so docs, AKMS, MAUI Blazor Web. In samples, this Blazor Hybrid web demo shows the example of the per page component that I showed you. The hybrid, Beth time until, it could be any time until. And then the hybrid MAUI app was the hybrid WebView. So if you're interested, the repository that we are in looking is MAUI, and then we have area Blazor. Okay, so we go through and triage those issues. So if you have an issue with Blazor Hybrid, please go to the MAUI repository and please let us know. We're really trying to lock down on .NET 9. So I think we understand that you probably haven't taken a look at it yet, but it's really an RC now and it's really stable and it's ready to go. And any kind of feedback you can give us would be great at this point. So and yeah, I think that's it. Oh, .NET Conf, I should mention .NET Conf. Mahul will kill me if I don't. November 12th through 14th, this is where we're going to launch .NET 9 GA. We're really excited. The MAUI team has some amazing things to show you, not just Blazor Hybrid. And yeah, thank you very much. And yeah, we can take questions if there are any. Sean?
Hi, Beth. Real good presentation. Excellent. Cool. I learned a lot about some of the new things that are coming with MAUI. That's great. And Blazor Hybrid.
Awesome.
The hybrid web view, so that's not really intended to be used with Blazor scenarios, right? That's more Correct. For like JavaScript frameworks interacting with .NET MAUI.
Correct. That is okay. Right. You're really going to want to use the Blazor WebView for Blazor components. It just provides a ton more functionality than just the basic hybrid WebView.
And if you were going to use, if you wanted to use JavaScript with Blazor, with the Blazor WebView, you would just use standard JS interop, right? And Correct. That would work just fine with the Blazor WebView.
That's exactly right.